Hey, power people. Welcome to Renewable Rides, powered by VECKTA. I'm Gareth Evans, the CEO and founder.
And I'm Dan Roberts, head of sales. In each episode, we'll uncover the latest trends, learnings, challenges, and triumphs relating to the energy transition, on-site energy, and sustainability through the experiences of our inspiring guests and team here at VECKTA.
So get ready for an exhilarating adventure into the fast-paced world of challenging limits, adapting purposefully, and empowering co-creation to accelerate the energy transition with those that are on a mission to create a more resilient, profitable, sustainable, and thriving energy future. So let's go. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Renewable Rides. And what a wild year 2023 has been. We're coming to the end of it. We're at the back end of December, and Dan and I are here to reflect on what's happened in 2023 and what the trends are for 2024. But we've had a wild 6 months. We're 6 months into Renewable Rides. We're 20 episodes or more in, and the feedback has been incredible. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your questions. And it's highly motivating for Dan and I to continue to produce these. What do you think, Dan?
Yeah, it's been exciting, humbling, energizing in all different ways. I think that the thing that I've really enjoyed is just the caliber of people we've had the fortune of having on so far, and certainly many other great guests lined up as we move into 2024. It's funny, I've had a couple friends reach out and say, "Wait, you're a host of a podcast now. I didn't even know anything about that." And I think the exciting thing for you and I, and we've talked about this, is just the learning process and getting comfortable and fielding questions and trying to address those. I think there's so much to be learned in the broader energy transition. I'm just excited that we can bring some clarity and knowledge and education and highlight some amazing people in the process.
Yeah, absolutely. Good. Well, should we jump right in? What are a couple of the standout retro items from 2023? What caught your eye?
Absolutely. So first and foremost, it's been a really interesting year from an incentives perspective, specifically here in the U.S. as it relates to the Inflation Reduction Act. While the Inflation Reduction Act was passed in 2022, we really, in this past year, over 2023, have started to get some of the guidance related to it, namely some of the parameters around beyond the kind of base 30% investment tax credit, but what are some of the adders or bonuses that can be applied to that? Specifically, getting clarity on the energy community bonus, which is a statutory bonus, and the low income bonus, which candidly, when it was first announced, before the guidance came out, we were really gung-ho on and excited to help our customers capture. But because it's a lottery process, which just had the application window open a couple of weeks, it closed in the last couple of weeks. I guess I shouldn't be shocked, but I'm blown away by the amount of interest. So within the category, which is called Category 1, other eligible low-income community projects, which is what most of our commercial industrial businesses would fall into, they had only 105 megawatts of capacity to be awarded through the lottery system. Yet they had 3,051 megawatts, or a little over 3 gigawatts of capacity applied for. So 30 times what they have capacity for, they've received applications for. So I think the guidance as we talk to some of our customers now is it might be there, it might be available, but don't count on it. But the exciting thing is many of these projects are penciling without it. So that's one of the things that really jumped out at me.
Yeah, and that's really just a little added bonus, isn't it? I think the big takeaway for everyone is there's still 30 or more % available. If you can get a bit of the low income adder on the back end of that, it's a bonus, but not a guarantee.
No, but the takeaway from that is on-site energy is growing, expanding distributed energy. When you look at 30 times the application capacity that they have, I'm wondering if the regulators are going to look at that and see if they can expand that pie a bit. Only time will tell. The second thing that really jumped out at me is seeing arguably entire industries really adopting this. And the key example of that is in the healthcare industry. So CMS, which is the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, which is really largely from a healthcare system, the body that they need to comply with in order to get paid for Medicare and Medicaid services, historically had required that healthcare systems that they reimbursed have backup systems that are fossil fuel based. And in 2021, they came out and said that they permitted battery energy storage systems for emergency power. But this year, March 31st, they came out with their what they call a categorical waiver for healthcare microgrid systems, or HCMSs. And what that means is that in their words, HCMSs are small-scale electrical grids where the sources of electricity can be provided by clean energy technologies such as fuel cells, solar, wind, battery energy storage. And this categorical waiver is saying that any new or existing healthcare facilities subject to CMS requirements can utilize these alternate sources of power other than a fossil fuel generator. And so I think that really opens up the opportunity for healthcare systems to adopt these clean energy technologies where they were previously largely required to use fossil fuel systems. And in our customers in the healthcare space and others that I've talked to who are all about driving public health, this now starts to jive with their overall ethos. So that's an exciting development as well.
Yeah, super awesome. And it really helps them move away from the pain that is having a bunch of backup diesel generators set on site and having to be permitted, maintained, tested, started up, bunch of fuel sitting around the site. So if we can offset that, that'd be fantastic.
Yeah. Well, Gareth, any standouts for you in 2023?
Yeah, I think the biggest one for me is I think we did the Demystifying Solar podcast, which was all around helping people understand the misconceptions around that. We absolutely need to do one on batteries because every time we speak to a customer, they say they're not considering batteries because they're too expensive, and people are kind of pulling very old data and listening to trends in the market that are untrue. But just this year alone, battery costs came down 14%, and we're at a record low of $139 per kilowatt hour, which was $780 10 years ago. So that's incredible. And I think it really helps unlock the benefits of on-site energy systems. And that kind of rolls us right into what's exciting about 2024. And I genuinely believe that it's going to be a breakout year for on-site and distributed energy systems. I think we've talked about this for many years in the industry, and it's been an industry that's had lots of hype around it and never quite delivered. But I think there's lots of reasons why it's going to break out this year, and we'll cover some of them today. But I think more and more customers are feeling the pain of escalating energy costs and outages and need to be more sustainable. Meanwhile, all the macro trends of reducing equipment prices, digital technologies enabling access to these systems, as well as just a real desire to have more control over their own business destiny is it's going to make it a super exciting 2024. What's catching your eye, Dan, in terms of what's going on in the market 2024?
Yeah, as we move into 2024, just based on conversations we're having with folks in the market, really there's unintended here, just the absolute gas pedal on EV deployments and electrification. I always find it funny when I'm talking to my kids and referring to the gas pedal when that's actually no longer going to be a thing. It needs to be referred back to as the accelerator. So maybe we say the accelerator on EV deployments and electrification, and we're really seeing that both consumers adopting, but really businesses adopting these technologies. We've got a variety of customers and partners that are facilitating that deployment and adopting themselves. And the interesting thing is some of the challenges that they're running into for getting the appropriate amount of service from their utilities in order to facilitate this large increase in load to facilitate the charging, and also how that plays into the economics and how distributed energy and on-site systems can both accelerate their adoption by bridging the gap until they can get the service, as well as providing lower cost input into the vehicles and into electrification of different equipment.
Yeah, I love on our team, Patrick's comment that in the industry right now, we're building a lot of cars and we don't have the infrastructure. And it's like companies producing a bunch of printers with not even thinking about how to provide the ink for the printer to work. And that's kind of where we're at. And I think we've proven in the last few years that EVs are no longer a niche market. Technologies are improving, range is growing, and there's more and more models coming into the market all the time, and the adoption is only going to accelerate. So super exciting time, and I think that really accelerates the deployment of on-site energy systems at scale for sure.
Yeah, it's a completely new paradigm, and super exciting. I mean, the reality is these vehicles are incredibly high performance. They're not they're no longer the vehicles that only the tree hugging hippies are driving. These are high performance vehicles, whether they're in the consumer space or even the torque needed in many of the commercial applications. I actually have envisioned in my mind the clip of the Cybertruck towing a Porsche, and that's pretty wild. So excited to see this market evolve and develop, and the needs expanding in the distributed energy space.
Yeah, and I think something that actually really supports that is the concept of these retail media networks. And I think fuel stations in the traditional form have really adopted these in the last few years. While we're stood there for a few minutes fueling our cars, we're prompted with all this media and marketing activity, from nice fancy flat screen TVs on the fueling stations. But Reuters is predicting that by 2028, retail media networks are going to be the leading platform for advertising, surpassing any other media channel. And I think that will really support the EV infrastructure rollout, because no longer are we stood at a pump for 2 minutes. We could be there 5, 10, even 60 minutes. And if there's an opportunity for people to make a lot of money and revenue from showing us ad and marketing content, I think that's only going to support the revenue models for EVs, which have been largely challenged up until now in terms of how can you really make the economics work.
Yeah, I mean, digital out of home is not a new concept, or out of home advertising in the form of billboards and many others. Now you've got a very captive audience and arguably an audience, at least today, an audience that many advertisers would love to get the attention of. So I think that's a particularly interesting. It also helps make it more economical for those consumers and businesses that are, quote, filling up, if you will. So I think it's an exciting evolution, and really keen to see how that impacts the business cases for deploying these.
Yeah, it's good times. And I think all of this feeds into whether it's on-site, whether it's EVs. I think the next big trend of 2024 will be around supply chains. I think supply chains are being pretty badly impacted, whether that be through the Ukraine war, COVID, US-China relations. And I think a lot of that will settle down in 2024. It'll help bring down the prices of a bunch of equipment and services, and it will really support projects to move a lot more quickly, because up until now, there's been real challenges around getting some of this infrastructure in a timely manner. Combine that with the fact that minerals and metals are a key talking point for the energy transition. We need a lot more of these materials to facilitate the development and deployment of energy transition projects. And I would have not predicted this time last year that we'd see ExxonMobil investing in a lithium mine in the US, of which they just announced. And in parallel to that, Chile just declared that it's going to nationalize its lithium industry. And I think this really shows that companies and countries are realizing that the next big superpower opportunities are going to come out of this energy transition. And we're going to have competition for resources, which will truly kind of reshape our trade, our markets, our politics, and potentially even borders, which is kind of crazy. And I think a lot of this is going to feed into election discussions. I'm blown away, Dan. There's like 70 countries that have elections in 2024. So talk about this being probably a hyper-focal point for energy sovereignty, country security. It's all going to roll up into that.
Yeah, the political landscape, for as far as we can see in human history, has largely been driven by access to resources, and over the past several hundred years, access to energy and the resources related to powering our economies and our world. And we're seeing that dynamic shift away from the traditional oil and gas and coal to these other materials. And so making sure that you have safe supplies and reliable supplies of that is particularly interesting. And then ensuring that not only the raw inputs, but also the final product. I mean, we're seeing so much of the onshoring, if you will, of battery production here in the U.S. Related to the incentives, again, driven by the Inflation Reduction Act. And that was a very strong intention of this piece of legislation, to bring that manufacturing back and help bring some or reduce some of the risk related to the supply chain of such a critical element of the energy transition.
Yeah, I had actually the pleasure of having dinner the other night with the leadership team of the new lithium geothermal plant that's going into the Salton Sea, and talk about innovation and the opportunity for countries like the US to reshore and in-house develop their own critical mineral supply chain. Super exciting. And it's good to see the innovation around this space, because there's a lot of opportunity. And I think a lot of people overlook the fact that recycling of these minerals and metals are also going to be critical. It's not like we're just burning off a fuel and it's gone. Like, how can we use our fossil fuels more effectively in our products, and figure out how to recycle them versus just burning them? And I think the energy transition, minerals and metals discussion really leads to that. Is we're not going to have to mine these indefinitely. How do we mine what we need and then continue to reuse? So another exciting trend that I think is going to play out, maybe not in 2024, but certainly beyond that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, so looking beyond that, and looking beyond electric vehicles and just general electrification, outside of energy, there's a couple big trends that are also related to energy. Maybe you can share a bit about that.
Yeah. And this is a bit of a personal passion. I think the whole Web3 and digital transition is super exciting. I think if you look at the innovation cycles that have gone, for decades, the last 20, 30 years, the big innovations have been around enterprise software, computing power, cloud computing, social media. The next 20 years, the big macro trends are AI, IoT, and clean tech. And I think factoring into AI and IoT, we're going to see a lot more digitalization of everything we do, which demands more data, demands more computing power, which will all have a knock-on impact on our energy needs. And so I think, Dan, you had told me before, data centers already consume 3% of our worldwide energy consumption at least. And if you think we're going to have to build a lot more of them in the future, our energy needs are only going to go up, and those things need to be super reliable. So that's going to really play into the whole on-site energy deployment. But yeah, I think a big prediction is crypto is really going to take off in 2024. This is not financial advice. Don't go out and buy Bitcoin on my suggestion. But I think crypto has a lot of tailwinds right now. The market is becoming regulated, which is now unlocking the ability for banks to provide the ability for us to all buy crypto through ETFs. And so it makes it feel more tangible for people. Meanwhile, Bitcoin's going to go through its 1 in 4 year halving event in April of next year. So these are all going to provide more and more growth in that market. And I think we're only going to see the prices really accelerate. But for me, that just unlocks the whole blockchain opportunity for us to figure out how to support businesses to transact in a more secure, more transparent, more traceable way, which is super exciting for the market.
Yeah, it's I also think back to some of the conversations we've had with particular utilities and as it relates to data centers, and one in particular, I won't call out who, but it's an area that data centers are popping up very fast here in the U.S., and that they have applications for capacity or applications for service equal to that of the entire capacity of their utility today, which is pretty mind blowing. They've got a ton of industry and manufacturing and all kinds of other load centers within their utility service territory. Yet the applications, the pending applications, are equal to that of the entire capacity of their system.
Yeah. So what's taken them 100 years to build, they've now got to figure out how to build in literally years. It's crazy.
Exactly. And think about the strain that puts on the grid. So going back to your initial 2024 prediction, 2024, absolutely breakout year for distributed on-site energy systems, given the tailwinds, given all the other macro trends. Super excited to be in the space.
Yeah. And I think the last one is, we all hear the hype around AI, and I think it's a super exciting space. I'm not sure it's going to filter down to enabling our lives at a personal level at scale yet, but certainly in the energy market, it's going to provide a lot more advanced analytics. It's going to help us automate more tasks. We're going to be able to optimize data collection and analysis, and this will allow us to design and deploy systems far more efficiently and at scale. And I think AI is certainly on a wild ride, and we need to stay tuned, stay connected, and continue to build it into our product to ensure our customers have the best solutions possible.
Yeah. Well, I love the turning of a year. It gives us an opportunity to reflect and look ahead. And I've learned so much in this past year, and appreciate all of our listeners and the support that we've had and the challenging questions and the great insights from our guests. So I know that as we head into this holiday season, I'm incredibly thankful and grateful for the opportunity to share this experience with you and share these insights with our listeners.
Yeah, it's been a wild ride, and I truly appreciate you and your family and all you do. And thank you to all our customers and partners for another great year. 2024 is going to be absolutely epic. We need to all figure out how to operate more quickly and at scale and make really positive return on investment decisions. This has to be a profitable and sustainable transition. And yeah, it's good times. There's a lot of stuff going on. But how are you going to sort of reflect and refresh before we hit the turbocharge button for the new year?
Yeah, thankfully I'm not traveling. I'll be at home, which is quite nice with my boys and my wife, and we're gonna get some quiet time, and I'm gonna go do a little Legoland with the boys. It's a nice little surprise. I don't think they listen to the podcast yet, so I can say that here. And then get some me time. Maybe definitely some golf. Maybe get a ride in on the mountain bike and get recharged for 2024. How about yourself?
That's brilliant. The complete opposite of you. There's definitely going to be travel involved. We're going to drive from San Diego up to Calgary, Canada, and we're going to try and hit a few ski resorts along the way. Hopefully there's some snow between now and then because it's looking pretty barren right now. But yeah, Mel's family is up there in Calgary. We're going to go and hang out with them, and we've got a bunch of friends up there. So it'll be nice to connect with those individuals as well as some of our customers who are hanging out up there. So yeah, beer, skiing, family time. It's going to be awesome.
Amazing. Wish I could be with you, but I'll raise a glass and a beer to you here from the comfort of my couch.
Sounds awesome. Dan, thank you for an awesome renewable ride. Excited for many more together, and excited to do a bunch more of these podcast episodes and help educate and build awareness for our community.
No doubt. Cheers to a good year. Even better one ahead.
Yeah. Game on. Let's go. We receive a lot of questions from business leaders around the world wanting to learn more about the energy transition, what is possible, and where to start. So to help you stay informed and up to date on best practices, opportunities, risks, and success stories, we created an industry newsfeed at VECKTA.com/news with all our podcasts, blogs, and newsletter. Check it out and connect with Dan, myself, and the VECKTA team to learn more. Cheers and have a good one.